Hello and welcome back to Higurashi Minagoroshi. Last time we had the conversation with the friends who are, for most of the time, very accepting of the situation and have even targeted on Takano after comparing the idea of Irei being the culprit. And Oishi is on his way after confirming that the body was indeed a fake corpse. So that's the good news. The bad news was we did kind of admit to Oishi over the phone that we'll tell him everything, so I'm sure the mountain dogs are not happy about that. And also all our friends also called their parents on the phone so they know that our friends are there to stay, so it's basically a question of if they're gonna fold and try another day or if they're gonna go for it before Oishi comes in the hour. Obviously, we would like them to fold another day, but since this is the last chapter, it might get kind of spicy in here. So let's just continue now. Obviously, in the car with Oishi and Kumadai on the way back, and see how it goes. No, 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 no.
そうですね。もうすぐ8時か。お昼が遅かったから忘れてました。
Please, Kumadai.
とりあえず話を聞いたら、おたふくにお茶漬けでも食べに行きましょう。
Thank you, Oishi.
警官を4人行かせてましたよね。交代を送らないと答える頃ですね。古出さんが気を利かせて出前でも取っててくれればいいんですがね。
Oishi and Kumadai passed through Otonomi and we're getting closer and closer to Hinamizawa. Okay, large time gap. I hope the worst wouldn't happen and by the time Oishi and Kumadai is already there, all the stuff went down, which would be a nice talk plot to be honest, but I guess it wouldn't be too surprising. It's like, I guess what can we actually do against 20 mountain dogs, but here's hoping, I guess. They heard on their way driving through the dark streets.
フルで理科の全てを話そうっていうのはとても気になるっすよね。
多分相当とんでもない話が飛び出しますよ。あの村はね、本当の名前は鬼ヶ淵村。鬼ヶ淵ってのは沼ですからね。沼の名を冠した村なわけです。
沼なだけにそこが知れませんね。フルで理科の護衛ですけどどうします？
彼女の話次第では秘密の場所に集まった方がいいでしょうね。
That is the end goal, but I don't know if we'll make it there. Like I said, escorting her to a different location is our current goal, but it is very hard to do without Oishi.
Hinamizawa ってのは村が丸ごと魔物の服従と同じなんです。あの村の中では何が起こるかわからない。とにかく聞いてみないことにはわかりません。
フルデ家の当主が命を狙われていて、園崎家次期当主はそれを守ろうと思っている。そんな状況下で誰がフルデ理科を？あとは君吉家くらいしか勢力が思いつかないです。
You wish. It's a Kimiyoshi uprising.
君吉家には臭い話は聞いてないんだけどな。やっぱり村には信仰を軸にした勢力が隠れてるってのかな。沼の底がどうなってるのか楽しみです。
The road they were on was cutting through the rice fields, leading them past by the scene of Jiro Tomataki's murder.
高野が富武を放置した。そこまでは間違いないと思いますが、富武のあの異常な死に方は一体何だってんでしょう。鑑識のじいさま、覚醒剤は出なかったって言ったんですよね。
確かに薬物反応は出なかったそうですが、だからって絶対なかったって保証はありません。この世にはおかしな薬なんてきっと無数にある。それら全部が間違いなく使われていないなんて保証は誰にも出せませんよ。自分が知らない薬だから実在しないなんて、そんな傲慢は刑事が口にしちゃいけない。あったからにはあるんだ。
I was trying to say something, but I'm actually not going to, because You know, I'm gonna try to go the long con on this, and we go up to the chapter break, which might be the whole thing, but we'll see. Just because last episode was only like 30 minutes, and I've kind of hyped myself up. I pre-energized myself with a cup of Rolo hot chocolate, which is pretty good, but I guess in second place are the two instant hot chocolates I've had since I've started drinking hot chocolate mitts again. Obviously referring to the carnations, which was, first time trying it, but it turns out to be like pretty good out of the two I had. But yeah, I'm hyped. I'm ready. I'm ready for some stuff, which I think again I'm still being a little pessimistic, but hopefully.
だからきっと富武に首をかき破らせる薬は実在する。そいつは犯人逮捕の折にたっぷり喋ってもらいますよ。あるいはフルでリカが話してくれると一番嬉しいんですがね。クマちゃんも今回の山で決めつける捜査がどれだけ冤罪を生み出してきたかよく分かったでしょう。
ありゃひどかったっすね。あいつうちの署に嫌がったら俺でも許さないところです。
I was obviously ordered to do that.
結局最後まで間違いは認めてませんからね。お隣さんはあくまでもあの死体は高野美代だったで通すつもりのようです。でもうちは高野美代生存でいきますよ。あとは県警同士のトップ会談で決着するでしょう。向こうのボンミスは確定してるんですから。認めると怒られると思って躍起になって上塗りしてるんですよね。
As per usual.
いやはや、そういう体質は改めて。
Unless they're like all in on it, but I doubt that. The car suddenly shook. The concrete road ended, leaving only gravel. And at the point of the gravel road begins, they're officially in Hinamizawa. They continue to drive through the woods for a while. I wish she had told him to stop immediately. I have like such a bad feeling. I feel like it's already, even though we just like talked about the club getting together, we have like a nice squad. I think they might actually do it where they're already like dead or whatever, as a nice FU, but maybe not. I'm nervous though. Kumadai quickly slammed on the brakes. Unless Oishi and Kumadai are gonna get jumped right now, which might be what happens, which would also be equally bad, but I mean, I guess technically less bad since Rika and the guys aren't dead, but it'd kind of be a death sentence. Their seatbelts tightened up, keeping them in their seats.
どうしたんですか？
あの車、何やってんだろうな。こんなところで。
Oishi tapped on the rear view mirror. There was a van parked just off the road. Rather beat up, it looked like it was used for a private company. There's no reason for someone to park their car here, especially at this time of night. Kumadai also thought it looked suspicious. Oh no, please don't die before we get there. The car seemed empty, but there's a light flashing in the woods nearby. Probably a flashlight.
不審ですね。こんな時間に。それにしてもよく気づきましたね。
いつも言ってます。刑事は四六時中目を皿にしてろってことです。何やってんだろうな。不法投棄かな。まさか死体埋めてるんじゃないだろうな。あるいは刺激不足のアベックかな。車のセンスからしてそれはないか。なあ、沖宮 PS どうぞ。聞こえてるかな。なはは。こんばんは、さようなら。
こちら沖宮 PS 感度良好です。
Oh, is this where oh no. Is this where the Todoroshi, where Oishi makes the check on the car? And then they're at the station, they're like, oh, it's just a car with no demerits or whatever. Brushing it off. I thought that was for Takano's car and that's why they disappeared, but Looks like it might have been for the Dardaners van.
車両ナンバー紹介お願いします。
I think it is. Oh no, it's bad news.
獅子骨ハノ4344。
不詳獅子骨歯の4344。
I wonder why they censored if they're actually giving a actual license plate.
少々お時間もらえますがよろしいですか？
Guess it doesn't matter, but
お願いします。
おいさん、
well, Shishibone
地
is
図で
not
見る
real,
と
so
電
maybe
話会
it
社の施
looks.
設がありますね。
I don't know what it would look like, I guess. Facility of Nippon Telegraph.
電話会社の施設って何ですかそりゃ。
It was listed as a facility, but it wasn't staffed. It was just a place where machines were installed. Kumagai wasn't sure how telephone lines actually work, but either way, it seemed like some kind of connecting device was located there.
普通のワゴンだよな。電話会社にゃ見えませんね。
電話会社ならそう書いた車で来るはずっすよね。
委託の伝説業者か何かの可能性もあります。直接聞いた方が早そうですね。
Oishi wasn't sure if that was the case. After all, why would any phone company go do maintenance so late at night?
ちょいと行ってみましょうか。ゴルデさんたちを待たせてますからね。パパッと行きましょう。
Oh no. I just feel dread.
そうっすね。
His well-honed detective instinct was trying to tell him something. This feeling wasn't one that Oishi could easily explain. He has a strong sense of that something was suspicious without any real reasoning behind it. Oishi trusted that he could judge others' characters with that sense. Nightingale, too.
車両が1台停車。
Oh no.
2人降りました。おそらく刑事です。そちらへ接近中、1分未満で接触します。
It was pitch black, yet they could see the two newcomers clearly. They were probably using a night vision scope.
了解。
Oh no.
全隊員注意せよ。ウグイス2から5はグリーンライトを待て。ウグイス7から8は前後100メーターのクリアを確認せよ。
I think we're dead. 2v8.
待機。
They see us with night vision goggles. Oh no.
ウグイス4、5。聞こえたな。
And this music. It's the dread music.
ウグイス4、了解。
I'm pretty sure this is the song that, guessing it was Fafo who pointed it out, that this was a song that they remade in the Umineko OST. Because it sounds very Umineko-like.
ウグイス5了解。
Maybe, unless I'm wrong, then I guess that's just embarrassing
ウグイス
for me.
了解。
ウグイス8、了解。
ウグイスより本部。ウグイスより本部。電話設備工作中にトラブル。私服警官2名の職質と思われる。発砲許可を申請。
Oh.
本部了解。許可を待て。
By the time Oishi and Kumagai reached the phone facility, they were being watched from all directions. There were 2 pairs of binoculars, and 2 sniper rifles pointing at them. The Mountain Dog operatives worked in 2-man units, and a sniper and a spotter to secure their means of retreat. That means we probably have snipers at the Furure residence. They had taken all different positions so that they could shoot Oishi no matter where he tried to run. They were all in camouflage suits, hiding deep in the woods. Oishi, of course, had no chance of spotting them. The snipers had their rifles trained on the detectives' heads. Oishi and Kumagai had no idea that they were on the verge of losing their very lives. The sniper rifles had their safeties on, but a flick of their thumbs would release them. In other words, they were ready to shoot if given the order. Spidey senses tickin'? Please? Kickin', not tickin'. The detectives found the fenced-in machinery right behind the parts van. There's a sign that saying that it was the property of Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Corporation, and another sign warning people to keep away.
どうもこんにちは。
すみません。作業中ですんで入らないでもらえますかね。
Hi, Nightingale too. I remember your voice. There were 4 men working there wearing blue overalls. They had a toolbox open and they were working on some wires.
どうも仕事中お邪魔してすみません。警察の者でございます。いえね、不思議なところに不思議な時間に車が止まっていたもので、どうしちゃったのかなと思いまして。
そうですか。お仕事ご苦労様です。うちらももうちょっとで終わりますんで。
おたくらどちらさんです？電電の人じゃないでしょう。
ああ、失礼しました。おこのぎ電気設備工事と申します。
おこのぎ。
あれすみません。名刺を切らしちゃってるみたいです。
おこのぎ電気設備工事さんって会社どちらです？
はい。沖宮にありますけど。
That's not a good answer. I feel like, I mean, maybe Oishi wouldn't know everything, but...
会社の電話番号と住所を教えてください。
It's so tense, dude. My heart. It's beating. Because if Oishi's dead, then I think we're just dead. Honestly, it might just come to the point where it's just impossible to escape, and we need to settle this Takano thing way earlier before the deadline. I feel like that's has to be the answer, because I think it's done, dude. I don't know.
なんでそんなこと聞きますか？
電話番号忘れちゃいました。
Oishi looked at them with a piercing glare. The response was very suspicious. Usually the vehicle of an electric company is full of various types of electrical equipment and repair tools. However, the van part there had nothing inside and it looked like just an ordinary car. Also, a company vehicle usually has the name of the company painted on it. But this one was just a plain van with no markings on it. None of that was the reason that Oishi found them suspicious, though. It was their attitude that bothered him. They didn't sound or look like typical contractors. They were obviously not electricians. It was far too late in the day, and there were far too many of them. They were also clearly suspicious of Oishi. However, that was all he could tell just by looking around. He found them suspicious, but he had no idea what they were up to. One of the men told Oishi the phone number. Kumadai wrote down the number so he could ask the station to call and confirm it was real.
私らそんな怪しいもんじゃありませんって。
あんたら怪しすぎですって。一体何者です？委託業者なら作業写真用に作業前作業後とか書かれた黒板とかあったりするでしょう。そういうのもないですし、だいたいあんたたちの雰囲気が違いすぎます。
おまわりさん、そんな意地悪言われちゃかなわないです。勘弁してください。私ら早く作業を終えて帰らなきゃならないんです。
Judging from their progress, it didn't look like they'd be cleaning up anytime soon. In fact, it almost seemed like they were just getting started.
もう化けの皮は剥がれてんだよ、兄ちゃん。電気屋に化けるときは、
Oh
まずバイ
no.
トして勉強してからにしな。
Oishi raised his voice threateningly. The members of the mountain dogs gradually started to look more and more annoyed. Oishi looked over their expressions and gave them a big wide grin. However, Oishi had no idea. He thought he could handle these suspicious people with no issues. Of course, in reality, they were horrific demons that he had no chance against. Meanwhile, Kumudai was heading back to the car. He was intending to contact the police department. He was going to call the station using the radio. Then in turn, the police department would contact the NTT. That way, it would become clear who they were dealing with.
本部よりウグイス1発砲許可ウグイス7クリアウグイス8クリア
The sniper was still aiming at Kumudai's head as he headed back towards the car. The safety, the last line protecting Kumudai's life, was disengaged. The sniper put his finger on the trigger. He was wearing a glove with fingertips cut out. The finger poking through the hole was very rough and merciless. For as soon as he slightly moved that finger, he would take someone's life. Kumudai heard a quiet noise. It was similar to the sound of a jump rope that he used to use as a whip when he was little. And that was the last thought Kumudai had in this world. Kumudai collapsed on the gravel. That was it. He didn't even twitch. Rip, my boy. Oishi was laying on his back on the concrete after getting shot in the chest. His lungs were filled with blood, which began to pour out of his mouth. Oishi only realized that he'd been shot when the world began to blur before his eyes. As his world keeled over, he saw a man in a work uniform leveling a gun at him, but it didn't matter anymore as he started drowning in his own blood. Well, cavalry has been destroyed. Oh, this is the adjutant.
S 号指定もなし、減点もなしだし。
パッシングでもされて腹が立ったんじゃないの？あの人、根に持つとなかなか忘れないタイプなんだよ。
ウグイスより本部。2名を射殺。作業を再開。
本部了解。警官の車両処理は慎重に行われたし。サンサ。ウグイスは警官2名を排除、作業を再開。
Whoa. What is that outfit? I like it. You know why I like it? Because I like the jacket thing that she's using as a cape. I have a soft spot for that kind of stuff. That looks actually pretty sick. Huh. It's a good look, Takano. It actually fits. Might be better than the nurse uniform. Actually, it is. I actually really like it. I'm just sort of sad about my boy Oishi, who I now wish to, I won't. I'll save it for later, but yeah. Rip.
私の尻尾をつかめてもう一息だと思ったでしょうに。残念ね。コーヒーをもらえるかしら。
どうぞ。
フィーネット。
しかし厄介な展開になってきましたね。R 宅には以前私服警官数名とそれから友人数名がいるそうです。R は自分が今夜殺されることに感づいているとしか思えません。作戦が漏れています。やはり決行は延期すべきでは。
明日の朝には死体が見つかっていないといけないのよ。
Actually, BRB, washroom break. I'm back. refreshed. Owishi's dead. Takano's looking really good. You know, as someone who actually like really enjoys character designs, I'll say this is like top tier in the series so far. It's like on par with Yukata Owishi from the end of Himitsubushi. I think like default outfit Takano actually is like pretty ugly, and Nurse Takano is pretty good, but this is Yukata Owishi level, which is extraordinarily high tier. All right, we only see Yukata Owishi for like half a chapter, but it was still like one of the best outfits in my opinion. So yeah, it's looking good. But yes, I think we're dead.
お偉いさんたちの日程上、その日が一番都合がいいって話なんだから。
I think we're dead, and I think the answer to winning is we need to deal with the Takano problem a lot earlier before they're about to kill Rita, because they're already prepped. You need to hit them with a surprise attack. And hopefully Rita gets the knowledge in the next world, because without Owishi, I feel like it's really grim, but you know, I'm still cheering for them to win. If that's any constellation, I hope they win.
作戦は決行します。
The crucial part of this final mission was the death of Rita and what came after that. They couldn't just kill her whenever they wanted. Doing it at the right time was vital. Interesting, because I feel like she dies on different days. Unless it is like more consistent than Rita thinks, and all the days she dies in the other world is just because of Shion.
違うわね。漏洩じゃない。予言よあれは。富武の死と、そして私ですら知り得なかった偽装死体の状態まで知っていた。あの子は女王なのよ。Hinamizawaの頂上存在の頂点に立つ女王で、巫女で降臨したるお社様の血脈に連なる正当な末裔。神を欺くことなどできない。知られるのは宿命だったのよ。フルでリカをあっさり暗殺などできるわけがなかった。いいわよ、リカちゃん。あなたと私、どちらがお社様の伝説を受け継ぐにふさわしいか勝負しようじゃない。あなたの死はお社様のたたりの最後を飾り、この村の伝説のフィナーレを飾る。私の作り上げた物語はその時こそ本当のたたりになるの。
Well, I guess that's the grandfather's will aspect of it coming in. So obviously that's not the that's not the goal of the organization to make Takano, but Takano is basically taking it. Like, she basically ended the village, who a lot of skeptics online would say it's Oyasho-sama's doing, and she's taking it upon herself because she's the one who caused it. So even if the others don't know, she is technically the Oyasho-sama that everyone's referring to. And maybe the last curse murders too. It was past 8 p.m. Mion ordered some noodles for us, her treat. We also ordered some food for the 4 officers, and we all ate together. We were supposed to call it a night as soon as we talked to Owishi, but he's still not here. However, we all took it easy, assuming that they'd get here sooner or later. It's getting late. Once you get to Hinamizawa, there aren't many places to get something to eat. I'm sure they're having a quick dinner before coming here. However, the 4 officers seem anxious. They all had families, but Owishi didn't tell them how late they'd have to be out here. They're hoping that Owishi will bring other officers to relieve them so they can go home. They told the station, but all they said was Owishi was on his way. And we should wait because he'll be here soon.
いね、大石さん。
渋滞にでも巻き込まれたんだよ。ちょうど帰宅ラッシュの時間帯にぶつかっただろうからね。
8 p.m. 8 p.m. rush hour. Is it? I don't drive, so I don't know. I always thought it was like a 6 to 7 p.m. thing.
おまわりさんもお昼からずっといてくれてるんですのよね。交代が来てあげないとかわいそう
No,
ですよ
no,
ね。
no. If they're leaving, bring in some Sonozakis. Please. We actually need all the support we can get. They should all huddle around this building, honest. Actually, I mean, unless we just get sieged to death. I don't know what to do, honestly.
何時に終わるのかもわからない仕事って疲れるもんな。
警察の人には休んでもらって私たちが夜景にでも立ちます？
Please.
さとこのトラップワークで不審者の接近を阻むとか。
We should have done that earlier. On the inside.
甘いですわね、シオンさん。ここは私とリカの家なんでしてよ。常に二重三重のトラップが張り巡らせてありますわ。
Ah. Maybe that would help.
そうなんだ。
I mean, we know Satoko's traps can be lethal if she wants them to be.
神社で遊ぶときは注意しないとね。
With our stomachs full, the mood in the house had returned to a light-hearted one. True, we shouldn't be so relaxed, but knowing that Oishi would be here shortly made us feel relieved. But he's so late. He said he'd be here in an hour. Mion mentioned he might have gotten stuck in traffic, but I'm sure Oishi was considering that. That's why he told me it'd take him about an hour. And it had been 1 hour since Oishi was supposed to get here. I want to believe he's getting something to eat on the way, but I'm starting to get concerned. Nightingale, don't do it. Or Skylark. Skylarks are the ones on us. Oishi still hadn't shown up. It's almost 11 o'clock, okay. Well, there's only 1 hour to the next day. Are they gonna... They're probably gonna do it soon. The officers are completely exhausted. They had even started to smoke cigarettes outside. My friends are becoming tired too. Satoko is yawning. It's way past their bedtime. Everyone else is getting tired and sleepy. We've been spending our time watching TV and reading manga. I can feel my fears succumbing to sleepiness. Today is almost over. I'm going to survive the day I'm supposed to die. Does that mean I escaped my deadly fate? No, I have to fight endlessly from tomorrow on. I was going to discuss that with Oishi. Since he's not here, I don't know what to do from this point on. Suddenly the phone rang, breaking the silence.
大石さんか。
もしもし、フルデなのです。
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。沖宮署の小宮山と申します。すみません。うちの大石ですが、そちらにおりますか。
Komiyama.
いいえ、僕たちもずっと待っているところなのです。
そうですか。わかりました。申し訳ございませんが、そちらに行っている警官に今から応援が行くので、引き継いだら祈祷するようお伝えいただけますか。
わかりましたです。それで、大石はどこに？
夕方頃直接そっちへ行くと連絡があったきりだったので、てっきりそちらへお邪魔してるものと思っていました。大石と交代で警官たちが戻ってくることになってたのですが、いつまでも戻らないのでどうなっているのかと思いまして。
That's what I like to know, but arguing with the man on the phone wouldn't accomplish anything. I hung up and gave the message to the officers downstairs. It looked like everyone had already heard our exchange on the phone.
どうしたんでございましょうね。遅いにも程がありましたよ。
何か重要な仕事があったりして道草でも食ってるとか？
Guys, why are we so calm? Didn't we just have a conversation on how you guys would be like targeted to die if we told you the truth? You're too optimistic.
それなら電話すると思うな。これから行くって電話したんだよ。これだけ遅くなったら絶対に電話してくれると思うな。
まさか東京って連中に襲われたとかか？
まさかと言いたいところですが、リカちゃまの言うような連中が相手なら絶対そんなわけないとも言い切れないのが怖いところです。多分急用が入ったんだよ。それで電話をするのを忘れてるんだと思う。向こうも大の大人、それも天下の大石だよ。そうそう簡単には消されないって。
Yeah, feels bad.
来るなら早く来てほしいですわね。はあ。
Satoko yawned. Everyone laughs, but some of them are trying not to yawn themselves. We can't stay up forever. We decided we'd call it a night once the replacement officers arrived. I'm sure I've survived past the time I was supposed to die. That's probably because the police were protecting me. Perhaps both Takano and the Mountain Dogs are also on my side and they took care of the murderer. I don't know who is changing my fate. Maybe my fate hasn't been changed and I'm going to get killed soon anyway. I don't know if it's because of the police or because of the Mountain Dogs, but the only thing I know for sure is that I'm still alive. Soon I heard the noise of someone walking on gravel on the shrine grounds. One of my friends suggested that it might be Oishi, but I doubt it. I don't want to expect him and be disappointed when it's not. I'm starting to think like Hanyu. Please don't look outside and get... Oh, it's Tomiyama. Okay. I mean, it's not the A-team. I mean, he kind of is the A-team. Tomiyama's like the only other name I kind of remember from Oishi's squad. I know there's like one more named guy, but okay, at least we got a capable cop with us. It wasn't Oishi. Two of his fellow detectives had arrived instead. They were going to stay downstairs and have the 4 officers return home. We're trading 4 for 2. I mean, maybe Tomiyama's worth like a couple of officers, but I think we're dead. I mean, the good thing is, I guess we're in like a disaster shelter, so it's kind of harder for them to break in, but I don't know. They also told my friends to leave. No. I mean, I guess they will.
ご家族の方が心配しますよ。みんなありがとうです。刑事さんたちが来てくれましたし、もう大丈夫なのです。
本当に大丈夫？邪魔でなければ私たちも泊まるよ。
大丈夫なのです。第一、お布団も寝巻きもないのです。じゃあ明日。これからはなるべくリカちゃんと一緒にいるようにしよう。部活はリカちゃんの家でやるっていうのでどうかな。あら、それなら素敵でございますわよ。僕たちの家の床が抜けてしまうかもしれませんです。
違いねえな。
じゃあリカちゃま、私たちこれで帰りますけど用心してください。暗闇で一人になるなんてことは絶対しないように。
気をつけますです。じゃあね。また明日。はいです。また明日。
See you tomorrow. Am I really going to see them tomorrow? I have no clue. I've tried so many things over the past 100 years. I've done many things and I have memories of most of them. That's why I feel scared on the day I die. It's the only day I have no memory of. I don't even know if I'm approaching or escaping my death right now. All I know is that this fear is going to continue until I find some kind of solution. As I started to get ready to bed, Satoko suggested that I should sleep in my regular clothes rather than in my pajamas. She was thinking that I should remain dressed just in case someone tries to attack me in my sleep. It sounded ridiculous, but she was just trying to be considerate. I decided to do what she told me to. Satoko seemed so sleepy until a few minutes ago, but she suddenly started passionately explaining to me all the traps she set on the shrine grounds. She assured me that the strangers will end up trapped if they try to sneak inside this building. To someone else, it might sound like she was just trying to brag, but Satoko was trying to make me feel better. After everyone else left, she noticed how scared I looked. Satoko's kindness and everyone else's kindness. I feel it's the right decision for me to talk to my friends, even if that won't end up changing my fate.
Rika.
Hanyu showed up again. She looked upset, so she was probably still thinking that I could get killed any minute, but I'm actually starting to feel a little better. I might get killed tomorrow, but I feel like I can rest safely at least tonight. I'm more concerned about the fact that Oishi didn't show up. Still, even if he didn't, the other detectives are here and will stay on guard downstairs without sleeping. As long as they're here, I think I'll be safe tonight.
どうしたの？お腹でも空いたの？出前じゃ甘いのはないからね。冷蔵庫のジュースでも飲む？
Hanyu would usually cheer right up when I suggested drinking some juice, but not this time. Her face looked pale, as if she wasn't even alive. Something out of the ordinary had clearly happened.
どうしたの？もうすぐ時間がやってきますのです。
That sounded far more like a declaration than a prediction. Even Hanyu doesn't have any memories of my death. There's no way she can tell when I will be killed. However, she sounded so certain just now. Perhaps we can feel it in the very cells of our body. Our bodies understand fate far better than we do. Up until now, I felt reassured that we could get through it somehow if we're all together. But as I clung to that life preserver with a hole leaking air, I was starting to drown in a sea of despair and struggling to keep my head above water. No, I can't let myself feel that way. I have to believe.
大丈夫よ、羽生。私は抗う。たとえ明日殺されるとしても、今夜殺されるという運命にだけは抗う。
Hanyu just gave me a look of faint sadness. That silence told me that my pitiful hope was going to push me down into a futile reality. I stared at Satoko as she continued to brag about her traps. If I'm getting killed shortly, Satoko won't be safe either. I quickly interrupted her talk about traps. The time was 1 in the morning. Hey, technically you made it to tomorrow. As it's hardly a big city, 1 a.m. in Hinamizawa is the middle of the night. The darkness here gets very deep. There's a light leaking from the first floor, where the 2 detectives sat on guard, but everything else was pitch black. Even the moonlight seemed indistinct.
予定時刻です。1階には刑事2名。
Uh-oh, showtime.
2階は消灯してすでに1時間以上が経過します。本部より3佐。
こんなに月の綺麗な夜だもの。始めなさい。
刑事は排除でよろしいですか？
そうね。今夜古出神社にいた人間は全てが忽然と姿を消し、それでいいわ。
本部より大鳥。作戦開始。保証の刑事2名は実力で排除せよ。なお発砲は許可しない。繰り返す。発砲は許可しない。本部よりウグイス。
Hand to hand, or I guess melee weapon.
大鳥が作戦を開始する。 電話線を遮断せよ。
ウグイス了解。遮断する。
Ah, that's what Nightingales were doing, shutting down, I guess, the phone lines connecting to the shrine plus nearby areas. I don't know if it like shut down like all the phones in Hinamizawa. It might, because it's a pretty small village. I guess it would. They had been working to disable the phone lines just in case their target tried to contact the police during the attack. That mission was what Oishi happened to bump into.
ほんじゃ始めるかいね。大鳥湾より全隊員へ突入準備。1階の刑事2名と2階の同伴者1名を排除せよ。痕跡を残せん。発砲禁止。ガスも使えんね。テーサーを使え。
Tasers.
単銃で武装してるぞ。撃たせるな。
おこのぎ、素人相手に手こずらないでよ。
まあ仕事ですんで。大鳥7、8前進。バックアップは周辺警戒を厳重にされたし。大鳥7、了解。前進する。
The two men in uniform slowly approached the building. The Mountain Dod's uniform is gray, so it didn't blend in with their surroundings at all. However, it doesn't look as suspicious as real camouflage suits. Of course, they look suspicious enough creeping up to the house like that anyway. They could both see light leaking from the door and hear the voices of the detectives. Rika would typically use a sliding door to get inside. The door was locked, but the Mountain Dodds had obtained a spare key a long time ago. They put the key in the keyhole, but it wouldn't go in smoothly. They were certain it would make some kind of noise when they turned it. The detectives would notice them the minute they did that. They'd have to rush inside and defeat them in one swift burst. Phoenix's 7 and 8 glanced at each other.
大鳥7より本部、準備位置に到着。突入指示を請う。
高野です。綺麗に決めるのよ。行きなさい。
了解。突入する。
Clack, clack. He turned the key in a hurry and opened the lock. By the time the detectives turned around, the door was already open and the two Mountain Dodds had stepped inside. They had aimed their weapons at the detectives while the latter were still turning around. In a fight like that, the first 2 seconds are the most crucial moments. The detectives collapsed, making minimal noise. There were needles stuck in their bodies, and those needles were connected via the wires to the attackers' guns. In other words, the weapons the two had weren't ordinary guns, they were stun guns in the shape of firearms. Instead of bullets, they shoot out electric needles that electrocute their victims into unconsciousness. Normally, they would be non-lethal weapons that allowed the shooter to capture their victim without harming them much, but their tasers had been modified. The two Dodds started walking up the stairs as soon as they confirmed that the detectives were no longer breathing. But in the next moment, they heard a loud noise above them.
こちら大鳥10、R 以下2名が感づいた。2階の窓から飛び降りたぞ。裏の茂みへ逃走している。大鳥4、5、そっちへ行くぞ。制圧しろ。大鳥4、沈黙。
Phoenix 4 spotted the two girls and started after them, but he suddenly stepped on something hard. Oh my god, it's the traps. Pow, pow, pow. With a cheap sounding explosion, the area was filled with smoke. Oh my god. We might at the Satoko Trap Lord. Oh my god. Wow. Man, I mean, obviously the traps probably aren't non-lethal, but it might slow them down enough to escape to the village, which would help. With a cheap sounding explosion, the area was filled with smoke. That was the trap Satoko had set using firecrackers. That had proven to be a very fortunate idea. The Mountain Dodds dropped to the ground, assuming they were under fire. I would too, honestly. That gave Rika and Satoko a chance to escape.
なんなんですのあいつらは。リカの言う東京なんですの。多分ね。いいから走って。捕まったら殺されるわよ。
どうした応答しろ。今の音は何だ。
こちらオートリ5、銃撃を受けた模様。R は突破した。追撃する。
くそ、感触玉か何かだ。
It's actually pretty hype.
畜生め。
さとこちゃんね。やるわね。
ああ、情けな。近場の班は急行しろ。オートレ18発見した。追跡中。応援を送れ。
二人は土地勘が強いわよ。早く抑えないと確実に見失うわ。
This wasn't a game of hide and seek, it was a game of tag. Several men in uniform were chasing after Rika and Satoko. They weren't idiots, so they didn't waste energy on a futile act of shouting wait. This was a quiet, deadly game of tag in the middle of the night.
どこへ行きますの？バラバラになって追
No.
っ手を振り切りましょうです。
Oh no.
落ち合うのはミーの家。地下の隠し部屋なら安全だし、外部と連絡も取れますです。
Oh, that's... I don't know. Satoko no idea that Mion had a basement in her house, but she didn't have time to ask anything under her current circumstances. All she did was nod. Good luck. Bang. The next moment, I felt my left foot catch on something and I fell down to the ground. I must have tripped on a rock or a piece of concrete.
リカ、サトコは逃げて。あんたも殺されちゃう。
But Satoko wouldn't move on without me. She came back to lend me a hand. I stood up without her help, but this cost us too much time. One of the men had almost caught up with us. I didn't know what to do, but Satoko, upon seeing him, quickly reacted. No! Satoko ran toward him and kicked him with all her might. Her foot landed right in his face, and I wish I had a camera. But there are two more of them right behind the first man. I can see them clearly now. They're the gardeners from that landscape company. They're wearing the same uniforms Okanogi is always wearing. They must be the mountain dogs. Now I'm certain that Takano is the culprit. And now that I know that, I can do something about it in the next world. But if I die now, will I lose my memory again? I can't die now. I need to survive so I can keep my memories. Satoko took something out of her pocket and threw it at them. It was something like sand and it blinded them. However, even that could only buy us a few seconds. Satoko tried to run, but she froze as soon as they aimed their weapons at us. Their stun guns are only shaped like firearms. Satoko, not knowing that, thought they were real guns. Knowing that she'll be shot if she turned and ran, Satoko tried to attack them instead. Of course there are 3 of them. Most would think it's impossible to drive them off, but Satoko didn't think about that. She had a 100% chance of dying if she tried to run. Then she might as well fight back because she might have a 1% chance of defeating them. Satoko is determined to save me, even at her own expense. But I can't stay in this world if it means losing Satoko. I'm dying anyway. I'd rather die for Satoko's sake than lose her. But another me was shouting in my mind, if I don't survive this, I'll lose this memory. I mean, technically you're in the next day. I don't know if that matters though, because it's 1 AM. If I die without keeping this memory, this life and everything I've learned will all be wasted. Should I escape and leave Satoko behind? That's right, I should use this experience to my advantage in my next life. I should just let go of her in this world.
無理ね。それができる魔女なんかになれるものか。
But I know in my heart, there's no way I can win against these guys. I'm sure their backup will get here if we take our time to fight them. Should I fight them for her, or should I leave so I can confront my true enemy? Hey, they're blinking. Oh, and it auto chooses it. Okay. Nice. We don't need a choice. Gotta try. Satoko's bravery gives me courage. If I left her, I'd lose my motivation to defeat fate. I don't care if I lose my memories. It only took 100 years for me to get this information. I don't care if I have to spend another 100 years in the same June. I can't leave Satoko. I had noticed something. They're only aiming at Satoko. There must be a reason why they can't shoot me. So I stood in front of Satoko to protect her. Just as I expected, they put their guns down and prepared to take us without weapons. They must think this is my final speech. They let me talk until I was finished. The next moment, one of them dropped to the ground. Keiichi had run toward him and kicked him from behind. Yo. Keiichi had kicked him right in the small of his back, and the dog was squirming on the ground. The other two tried to retaliate, but they were too late. Mion grabbed one of the guy's arms from behind and flipped him down to the ground. Was this planned, or did they actually? I mean, I don't know. I did say that Keiichi does have the ability to take down a mountain dodge since he almost 2v1'd them. Or he was doing good against one of them in a 2v1. And Mion just has actual military training in America. So, obviously Rena's strong. Like, everyone's actually, technically, if you look at their feats, they can at least do a nice 1v1, I think. At least hand to hand. And, I mean, they have the sneak attack, so even better. It must be some kind of martial arts. I've seen something like that in an action movie before. Rena tried to push the remaining dog with all her strength, but that wasn't enough to take him out. He tried to aim his gun at Rena, but she had already done what she was supposed to do. All she needed to do was get his attention. Shion had snuck behind him and she fired her stun gun into his neck. The stun gun made a snapping noise and the dog fell down to the ground with the rest of his friends. Yeah, let's double tap everyone.
大丈夫かサトコにリカちゃんまさに危機一髪だったなお前らの足が速いんで追いつくのに苦労したぜ
ずっと待っててよかったね張り込んでた甲斐があったよ
Nice, nice.
張り込んでたってあの後お家へ帰らずずっと見張っていましたの皆さんは帰り際にねすっごく不審な人がずっと草陰に潜んでて伺ってるのを見つけたの
いやーよく見つけたよなあの暗闇でレナには嘘も迷彩も通用しないってことだな
So, figuring he would leave if they spoke to him, they secretly staked out that suspicious man. They started following us as soon as they heard the sound of the firecrackers.
まさかここでみんなに救われるとは思わなかったのです
とにかくここにいたらすぐに応援が来るぞどうするこれから
私たちミオンさんの家に逃げ込むつもりでしたのよ地下でかくまってもらえるとかいう話で
地下最後殿ですか確かにあそこなら都合がいいです
It might be. If you go by Takano's notes, I think she was speculating that the Sonozakis have a ritual storehouse thing, but I don't think she actually has confirmation of it. I mean, she probably couldn't, so it might actually be good enough.
しかもあそこ武器も隠してませんでしたっけ？そういうのは言わない。とにかく私もうちに逃げ込むのは賛成。あそこには秘密の通路がいくつもあるから連中の裏をかけるよ。
なら急ごう。追っ手が来てる。
Run! Uh-oh. This song. A white van was approaching us at high speed. It obviously belonged to the mountain dogs. The van stopped not far from us and more people in uniform jumped out. There were at least 6 of them. If we all run, the slowest runner might get caught, so we should take them down while we can. I don't know if they have a license, but Mion and Xian know how to drive a car. We can take their van and get away from here.
6人だ。ちょうどいいね。全員の全力でぶちのめして車をいただこう。
それは明暗ですわね。
そうと決まりゃ速攻だぜ。
The mountain dogs were ready to chase us. They had no idea we would try and attack them instead. Rena is always the first one to make a move in this kind of situation. She gets so determined once a decision is made. She immediately singled out one dog and punched him in the nose. Another one tried to grab her from behind, but Keiichi kicked him in the side as hard as he can. I'm just saying, imagine being an elite mercenary group and you're being beaten by 10 to 16-year-olds. It must hurt the ego.
おいおいレナ、やり合うときは背中を気にしろよ。
ケイチ君に任せるよ。よろしくね。
レナさんのひなみざわ復帰前ってめちゃくちゃ興味あります。というか人殴るのに躊躇なさすぎ。スタンガン使うのに躊躇ないあんたが言わない。
Given that Xian had the stun gun, the mountain dogs were reluctant to go after her. They were scared of the very dangerous weapon she had in her hand. But thanks to that, Xian had stopped one of them for certain. I guess we should have picked up the stun guns they had too, but maybe it's harder to do. Because they're like real guns. It was fortunate for us that they didn't have any guns of their own. They had no way of countering Xian's stun gun. Satoko attacked him from behind. She encircled his neck with a jump rope and pulled. Xian followed up, quickly hitting him with her stun gun. What was I doing during all that? The only thing I can do is run around and try to get their attention. They're pursuing me after all. They want to catch me more than anything else. But that leaves them open to attacks from my friends. Keiichi had already hit the one trying to grab me. I think we have a chance here. We may not be able to take all of them down, but we can try and find a chance to escape their vehicle.
リカちゃんから話を聞いていたとき、とんでもねえ奴らだとビビっていたが、
Apparently.
どうやら俺たちと同等程度みたいじゃねえか。
みーちゃんの部活メンバーはつまりそのくらい強いってことなんだね。
恐れないというのが多分強さの秘密ですね。お姉の部活は遠慮ってやつをなくす訓練みたいなもんですから。
If we all fight together, we can win this 6-on-6 battle. If any one of us wasn't here, they'd beat us easily. We'd end up dead. If my friends hadn't stayed behind, I would have been killed by now. We can do it. We can make it. The dogs Xian took out with her stun gun were starting to wake up. The ones we knocked out earlier were also up and chasing us again. We'd have to get out of here. This isn't the time for me to be just running
ちょ
around.
うどいいわね。やってやるわ。リカ、羽生、あなたは相変わらず諦めてるんでしょ。諦めない悪あがきがどれだけの力を持つか、そこで見てなさい。私は打ち破る。私たちは打ち破る。今からね。それをあなたの目の前で見せてあげる。
よし、みんないいね。一撃で決めるよ。目の前の敵を一人撃ち倒せ。それから車を奪って逃げる。
はいです。僕もやりますですよ。
気に入ったぜリカちゃん。よっしゃ行くぞ。
On Keiichi's signal, we attacked 6 of the mountain gods in unison. Time gradually slowed down. I truly felt like I was trying to overcome that impossible wall of time and change my fate. However, time continued to slow even further until it stopped. What's going on? It felt like the film reel of a movie had gotten hung up partway through. Like time itself has come to a standstill.
羽生、どういうこと？その時が来たのです。どうして？
Wearing a sad expression, Hanyu pointed at Keiichi. I finally noticed something. All my friends had noticed already, except for Keiichi.
ケイイチ、その胸の前に浮いているのは
何ってなんだよ。あ？これなんだよ。
Time had stopped just when Keiichi was about to hit his opponent. Then he realized that something was floating in front of his heart. It was a metallic silver cone. That was the first thing I could think of. Bullet.
嘘。ケイちゃん。
なんだよこれ。まさか集団？
That's exactly what it was. The bullet had stopped about 15 centimeters away from Keiichi's chest, just before it would enter his body. That's right. Once time starts moving again, it will slam into his chest. In other words, it's too late. Keiichi will immediately die when time starts up again.
誰が撃ったの？だって相手は6人。誰も銃なんか持ってないよ。あそこ。ワゴン車のところですわ。
Satoko couldn't point at the van. Time had completely stopped after all. We could see another person standing near the van. There had actually been 7 people inside, not 6. That 7th person was the one who fired the bullet. We hadn't seen her at all. That person is someone we all know very well. Yes, it's Takano.
高野さんだ。高野さんが撃ったの？ケイイチ君は？
In this frozen world, Takano was smiling, still aiming her gun at Keiichi. Takano had been watching us from the van this whole time. She came out and fired her gun, knowing that we hadn't seen her at all.
そっか。
Oh,
な
man.
るほどな。
I feel it.
やっぱり黒幕は高野さんだったんだな。
どうしよう。ケイちゃん、なんとか体をひねってかわせないんですか？
バカ。弾丸だって止まるくらいに全てが止まってるんだぞ。俺だって動けるわけがねえだろ。
なら時間が動き出すのと一緒に上半身を反らすんですの。そうすれば少しでも違うかもしれませんわよ。
Everyone was desperate to save Keiichi. However, no matter how hard we thought, we couldn't come up with any ideas to save him from the bullet. We were so desperate that Keiichi started to laugh.
なんかよくわからないけどさ、とにかくこうなっちまったものは仕方がない。時間が動き出せば俺は死ぬだろう。死ななくてもまあ少なくとも戦力にはならなくなるな。だからみんな今のうちに俺のことを諦めろ。
Oh man, I am. I am feeling very sad, I guess is a way to put it. Well, let's just continue.
そして目の前の敵と高野さんをぶちのめして
I'm not
車を奪うことを
crying.
考えるんだ。
It feels like I can if I wanted to though. If I pushed for it, just saying.
嫌です。圭一が死んでもダメです。そんな世界は嫌なのです。羽生、これが運命だというの？避けられない運命だというの？大丈夫ですよ、リカ。忘れられます。忘れられますから。嘘だよ、嘘だ。ケイちゃんがこのまま死んじゃうなんて。やめなよ、みーちゃん。とにかく目の前の相手を倒すことに集中しよう。倒れるケイチ君に振り返る時間をきっとケイチ君は望まない。
ああ、そうだぜ、レナ。頼むぞみんな、リカちゃんを。まずはこの場を逃げ延びて監督に連絡を取れ。多分こいつらは大石さんをもう殺してる。だからあれだけ待っても来なかったんだ。みんな生き延びろよ、絶対だ。
ケイチ！
リカちゃん、最後の最後にごめんな。運命なんて覆せるって大見え切っておきながら最初にリタイアしちまう。
It sounded just like Tatano's regular laughter, but it was the scariest noise I'd ever heard.
根性の名残は尽きた。
高野さん、これで俺たちが負けたと思うなよ。
見終わったのね、走馬灯。
The silence suddenly ended and the clamor of reality returned. Wow. I'm just wondering, when's the last time I was like this sad during reading Higurashi? I mean, I was definitely sad for like a lot of the parts, but I think it's been like a while since I was genuinely this like sad where I actually feel like I might cry. It's very weird. I feel like the only time that I really remember was like that whole montage in watching Adachi very early on about Mion. Oh my god. And this song comes on, dude. An extra sad version. I watched Keiichi collapse right in front of me. He fell down on his back while his blood splattered everywhere. And after that, he stopped moving. Oh my god. There's no way any of us weren't shocked by that. We tried to take down the foes in front of us, but more came from behind. Maybe I should take a break, or is this better entertainment value? Crying. It's a good thing though, I guess. I mean, good as in good story. We tried to struggle as best as we could, but there's no way we could win against all those adults. I did my best to fight them off, but they pulled my hair and picked me up as if I weighed nothing. I heard everyone's desperate screams of resistance. The comforting and courageous unity we showed right before Keiichi was shot was shattered like glass. The debris of glass lay sadly on the ground. Takano's annoying laughter was still echoing inside my ears.
高野より本部へ制圧したわ。私の言ったものを準備させて。それから死体がたくさん出るから処分の手配を。死体袋が5つと血を流すのに水がいるわね。持ってこさせて。
She needs 5 beds. My body froze up, but time did not. Takano, laughing, pointed her gun at Mion's head.
嘘でしょ。
あなたの背中の入れ墨、一度見てみたかったの。後で見せてもらうわね。
見たければ勝手に見ればいいでしょ。見たってつまらないよ。
そう？私は楽しいと思うわよ。
やめて！みーちゃんを撃たないで！
Takano shook her head in response to Rena's scream.
ダメよ。ミオンちゃんが部長さんなんだから一番じゃなきゃね。
嘘。やめ。
There was a dull noise, followed by Mion's body twitching. We all tried to break free from the men restraining us as Takano calmly shot Mion. However, they were too strong, and all we could do was squirm like insects. Takano was enjoying watching us struggle. Since then, she stepped towards Satoko, but Shion started screaming curses at her.
あなたが先に撃たれたいのかしら。おとなしくしてればもう数秒は余計に生きられたのに。
やめてシオンさん。挑発なんかしても意味がありませんでしたよ。
I know why she's doing that. I know why she's doing that. Shion wants to protect Satoko for as long as she can. She's trying to do what Satoshi told her to. Takano didn't care one whit for Shion's feelings. Stepping over Keiichi's body, she approached Shion.
私、やっとわかりましたよ。サトシ君を。あんたが殺したんですね。そうなんでしょ。
あいにくね、メイドの土産って嫌いなの。だから教えてあげないわ。
Shion's body twitched. That had followed the dull sound of another gunshot. Just 2 dull sounds had stolen away the lively Sonozaki sisters. It didn't add up. I started shaking from fear when it hit me just now how easily Takano can take away lives.
無抵抗の人を撃って楽しいの？この人でなし！
あら、次はあなたが撃たれたいの？黙ってれば最後の順番になったのに。
Keiichi, Mion, and Shion died. The oldest one of us left was Rena. Rena didn't want to see Satoko and me die before she did.
連続開始事件は全部高野さんの仕業だったんですね。お社様のたたりの 代行者のつもりだったんですか？
代行者じゃないわ。私がたたりを下すのよ。あなたには見せられないわね。お社様の怒りがこれからこの村に下るのは、それは私が起こす。私のたたり。そう。私はまさにお社様そのものになるのよ。その時、私は人としての域をようやく超えることができるの。まあ、あなたには私の気持ちはわからないでしょうね。人を超えて神になろうとする心地よさなど誰にも理解できないわよ。
無理だと思うな。高野さんがどれだけお社様のふりをしたってお社様にはなれないよ。所詮はごっこ遊び。お社様になんかあなたはなれない。
なれるわよ。これからなるもの。
Ah ha 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 ha. Rena laughed at her. Takano seemed very upset to hear that laugh.
何がおかしいのかしら。
無理だよ。だってお社様はいるんだもの。
Those were Rena's last words.
さて。
I have slightly sobered up, so I'm better, kind of. Even though everyone's literally dying, but I can read properly now.
あなたは殺しても殺さなくてもどうでもいいの。でもあなたは生きた研究資料だからね。東京はあなたの生きたままの捕獲に懸賞金をつけてくれてるわ。大した額じゃない。私の取り分はせいぜいヨーロッパに旅行に行ったら消える程度よ。まあ生け捕りにしてもあなたは結局はろくな目に遭わないけどね。生きたまま頭蓋を切開されるのが関の山よ。それに私あなたとはお友達だったしね。この場で撃ち殺してあげるのも優しさかと思ってる。どっちがいい？
そんなの決められるわけないでございますわよ。
Satoko shuddered back at her. Her eyes were full of tears.
じゃあクイズ。ブロッコリーとカリフラワー、緑色はどっち？
Don't do that. It's one of the best scenes. Oh my god.
いえ、ブロッコリー。
How? As soon as I heard the same dull sound, Satoko stopped moving. Takano smiled and said, "Good girl," to what used to be Satoko.
本当に今夜は月の綺麗な素敵な夜だことね。あなた
そして私を殺すのね。
ええ、殺すわ。女王感染者の死体が作戦の鍵なの。あなたはここから遠く離れた東京の地での醜い政治的勢力争いの具になるのよ。そして鬼ヶ淵村の伝説のピリオドとなる。
私をどういう殺し方にするか高野の考えそう。
あら、わ
Whoops.
かるの？言ってみて。
I'm not going to say it, but I know. It's Watanashi. She wants to do the real Watanashi using my body. I'm sure she's planning to cut open my stomach and pull out my guts. To do that, she'll make me inhale some chemical to put me to sleep. I vaguely remember that part.
想像がついてるよね。じゃあ、おやすみなさい、リカちゃん。
One of the dogs approached me with a handkerchief soaked in a chemical substance.
高野、待ちなさい。
みんな潔く死んだのに、あなたは命乞いなの？
違うわ。私を殺すなら眠らさずに殺しなさい。
Oh, so she remembers to the next life. Takano hadn't expected to hear that. Still, even though she was surprised, she nodded with a slight smile. Hanyu was also surprised to hear that. It would obviously be a terrible way to die.
どういうつもり？楽に死ぬ気がないの？辛いわよ。生きたまま腹を裂かれるのは
忘れないためよ。
Yes, I'm doing this so I'll remember. I'm not going to forget about it.
あなたが私の腹を裂くの。私は魂に刻みつける。それを私は絶対に忘れない。あなたに再び会った時、あなたが敵であることを思い出すために。
何を企んでるやら。でもあなたは他の子たちよりは少しは賢明みたいね。1秒でも長生きすれば悲鳴を上げるくらいのチャンスはあるかもしれないからね。でもそうはさせないわ。
They forced something other than the handkerchief inside of my mouth. It was a gauge. With that in, I couldn't close my mouth, leading my saliva to start overflowing. Soon, another van arrived. More mountain dogs came out of it. They had probably come to get rid of the bodies. They grabbed the corpses of my friends and stuffed them into body bags. After that, they sprayed a bunch of water on the ground to clean up the blood. They asked Takano how many shots she fired and started looking for the bullets. They were erasing all the evidence. By the time the night was over, there'd be no more proof left. They pulled my hands behind my back and bound them with handcuffs. My ankles were tied up too. They also tied my ankles and wrists together. My body was bent like a shrimp and I was no longer able to walk. My mouth was covered so I couldn't even talk. I couldn't move, talk, or express myself in any other way. They had taken everything away that made me human. Therefore, I wasn't human anymore. I was just a toy named Rika Furure, a toy to give Takano joy. The car started moving. It seemed like they were going back the way we came, but I didn't care anymore. As the time of my death approached, some of my forgotten memories came back to me. That's right, I was killed like this so many times. Every time I repeated my life, Takano got pleasure out of killing me. Somebody rubbed my head. Were they trying to comfort me? I shook my head to try and refuse. They laughed at me as I did so. Hanyu showed up. She couldn't hold back her devastated tears. When I saw Hanyu's painful tears, I was convinced. I was wrong. Hanyu is not just a bystander. She's just too scared to face reality because she can't stand the pain anymore. Hanyu wants a happy future too, but her hopes were betrayed countless times and she was hurt far too much. For some reason, seeing her sorrowful expression calmed me down. Perhaps Hanyu was crying in my place.
私たちあれだけ努力した。精一杯頑張った。もう一息で運命を覆せそうな予感すらした。それでも届かなかったなら仕方がないし、それにね、なんだか気持ちいいの。
I've never fought this hard in my life. I've never learned so many things. Because I can repeat my life endlessly, I've been taking each one for granted. But everyone else is taking their lives seriously. I wasn't learning anything because I wasn't doing that. But I finally understand. I learned something from this life and I put all my effort into it. So, I'm sad that I didn't make it, but I feel satisfied just the same. It's a strange kind of satisfaction. I wonder how many of these memories I can keep. I get the sense I'm going to lose my memory of this evening. If that's the case, I will lose my memory of seeing Takano's face. I finally found out that Takano is the mastermind. Am I going to repeat the same world again, not knowing the truth? She killed my friends as if she were merely killing some bugs. I don't want to forget that. No matter how hard my death will be, I needed to remember Takano's face.
羽生、私はくじけない。この記憶がたとえ引き継げなくてもいい。がむしゃらに生きていく。6月の狭い日々にしか生きられなくなり、最後には綿流しの日にしか生きていられない存在になってもいい。それが私の生なら、精一杯生きて。僕も忘れません。きっと覚えてて、もしリカが忘れていたらきっと僕が教えますから。羽生、あなたはやっぱり冷たい傍観者のふりをしていたのは悲しさに怯え。
Oops.
みんなと楽しく過ごす未来に行きたかったです。
Hani started to cry like a baby. She's so stupid. She decided to abandon hope because she didn't want to deal with the sadness that she always felt on this night. But she ended up hurt and devastated anyway. Hanyu, are you happy that this world is ending just like you predicted? I decided not to ask her such an unpleasant question. The car stopped and 2 men pulled me out of the vehicle. We had returned to the Furude shrine. There were several men waiting in front of the offertory box. Nearby there were countless sharp knives laid out on the ground. They're going to cut open my stomach with those tools and pull out my intestines. They took off all of my clothes. They left the gauge inside my mouth and the handcuffs around my wrists. I wasn't embarrassed to be naked in front of them. Rather, I was just furious that Takano was getting joy out of doing this to me. Don't forget this humiliation. The pain I'm about to experience should be carved into my soul forever. I'm not going to forget this. Everyone worked together and we finally revealed who was behind it all. If I forget this, my friends' efforts and deaths will have been in vain. I need to stay alive as long as I can so that I will remember the pain.
羽生、目を背けないで。あなたも見ていなさい。そして心に刻んで。僕にはそのくらいの協力しかできないのでしょうか。触ることも喋ることもできない僕にはそんなことしかできないのでしょうか。それで十分よ。あなたが目を背けないでいてくれたなら、私も多分痛みに耐えられると思うから。
Hanyu nodded and sat right next to me while continuing to cry. We then looked up at the night sky together. The moon was shining brightly, as if taking pity upon me. He also looked at the faces of my murderers. That beautiful moon was gradually stained red. It's getting cold. It's so painful. I'm consumed with fear of not being able to do anything about this. But Hanyu is right next to me. That gives me comfort. It's not just Hanyu either. Everyone is here with me. Everyone is there watching me so I can stand this torture. That's why it wasn't painful. I didn't struggle. I didn't care about Takano's crazy laughter. This was such a wonderful world. We didn't overcome this fate, but I have no regrets. Of course I'm still sad. I'm disappointed. My future was right in front of my eyes. My hand could almost reach it. Even so, we did what we could. I have to be proud of myself. Kichi voiced his disagreement. He still felt that we could have done more. We were almost there. We almost defeated this fate. We didn't win, but not because our enemies were strong. We didn't win because we didn't try hard enough.
でも、みんなは心を一つにして頑張っていましたのです。僕は見ていました。全部見ていましたのです。
いや、足りてなかったんだ。運命を打ち破ろうとする意志が全員で結束できていたなら、必ず奇跡は起こせたんだ。
そうなんだよ。全員が信じたなら必ず奇跡が起こせるんだよ。さとこもリカちゃまもみんなよく頑張りました。ごめんなさいですわ、リカ。あなたが打ち明ける勇気を見せてくれたのに、私はあなたを救えなかったですわ。
Satoko held my shoulder and cried.
そうよ。みんなで力を合わせたわ。それでダメなら仕方のないこと。ありがとう。みんな本当にありがとう。多分あまたの世界と同じ死を迎えるのに、こんなにも諦めがつく死は初めて。この死を代償に私は本当に大切なことを学んだ。リカちゃん、違うの。奇跡が起こらなかった理由、レナは知ってるよ。
Rena spoke gently, but she wasn't smiling at all.
ねえ、本当にみんな奇跡を起こそうと信じてた？未来を望むとき、全員が信じてなかったら奇跡は起こらないんだよ。
I wonder if that's a Hanyu call out or not. I don't know.
何言ってんだよ、レナ。
It might have been.
俺たちは結束した、団結した。運命を打ち破れることを疑わなかったぞ。なあ、ミオン。
うん、そうだよレナ。誰も運命に勝てないなんて思わなかったよ。リカちゃんのこの運命を覆したいと思う誰もが絶対に運命を打ち破れると信じてたよ。
そうですわ。リカですらそれを信じましたのよ。最後の最後にリカは私たちを信じて運命を打ち破れると信じましたのよ。もちろんレナも信じたよ。でも信じなかった人がいると思うの。
Yes, please. Dude, imagine motivated Hanyu, Ned Stark. Please redeem yourself, Hanyu. I need it.
誰がです？
What? Who can it be?
ねえ、あなた。
Rena turned to Hanyu and asked her a question.
あなた信じてた？運命に打ち勝てるって信じててくれた？ れることができなくても、喋ることができなくても、信じることはできるんだよ。あなたも信じてくれたなら、きっと奇跡が起きた。僕が信じて何が変わったのでしょうか。僕は何もできない非力な存在なのです。
I mean, it's hard to say, but I feel like Rita would be like motivated, like would not fall into her like I don't know what to call it, like depressed, anti like kind of like lazy states, I guess. If like Hani was also determined to solve it, I think again the goal is you have to act very early to actually do this, because obviously you can't win if there's like 20 mountain gods surrounding you. So if like Hani would have supported Rita from the start, it could have done something. I'm not saying they would have won in this world, even though it was perfectly set up because they didn't have the information of Takano and the mountain gods, but definitely would have helped.
僕は見ていることしかできない。受け入れることしかできない。そんな僕が信じるだけで奇跡が起こせたというのですか。
ああ、起こせたな。
Kiichi stated it clearly. He wasn't trying to blame her, he was just stating the truth.
そうだね。あの時、こっちは6人だった。向こうは7人だった。
True.
あなたが信じてくれてたら、それだけで心は7つだった。だったなら、きっと奇跡が起きた。奇跡はね、触れたり喋ったりで起こすんじゃないんだよ。信じる気持ちが起こすんだよ。
Hani, you can't cat noise out of this, alright? Hani had realized that this ending wasn't caused by fate. It was because she didn't believe. In other words, this happened because she was so weak as to accept this fate. She started crying again.
名前も知らないあなた。あなたにも悲しみや辛さと戦う勇気が必要だった。あなたも運命と戦う勇気が必要だった。あなたが望んだなら、みんなが望む世界にきっと行けた。それがあなただけが信じなかっただけでたどり着けなかったなら、それはあなたの責任なの。
It was hard to believe Rena could say something so harsh. Her words were piercing Hanyu's heart, but those words were necessary for me and for her. Only faith can create a miracle. That sounds like something you might hear in a fairy tale. It's not easy to put it into action. People suspect others. They don't trust others. It's easier to not have hope. It's so difficult to believe. That's why faith can make miracles happen.
僕は触れないのですよ。喋れないのですよ。そんな僕でも信じれば奇跡が起こったというのですか。だって今こうしてレナとあなたは話しているよ。
Hanyu, you're like the coach, and you're also like the ultimate covert op. Now, I don't know if they'll ever utilize your covert opness, but like you're still like Rita's mental coach. It's actually like super big.
私はあなたと言葉を交わしたのはこれが初めてだけれど、いつもあなたがいるのを知っていた。あなたに言葉をどうすればかけられるか考えていたよ。私たちが楽しく遊んでいる時、あなただけが輪の外から眺めていたことを知っていたんだよ。だって輪の中に入りたくても僕は誰にも見えないし話しかけられないし、僕を見たら みんな化け物だと言いますです。僕はもう二度と化け物と言われたくないのです。
誰が言うよそんなことを。
Floating Keiichi. No, this is probably gonna be a fill in the blank CG. I mean, I guess we'll see. I'm predicting it just from the spacing.
俺たちと一緒にいたなら俺たちは仲間だ。
Yeah.
そうですわよ。仲間のことを化け物呼ばわりなんて失礼しちゃいますわ。
化け物かどうかは容姿じゃなくて心で決まるんだよね、シオン。
そういうことです。まあその見地から言えば私の方がよっぽど化け物ですよ。頭に角が生えていても僕は化け物とは呼ばれないのでしょうか。身体的特徴で化け物なんて誰も呼ばないよ。
It's pretty good CG. Now this is pretty heartwarming. It's the Hanyu initiation.
むしろキュートなくらいだよ。
レナに気をつけろ。変に気に入られるとお持ち帰りされるぞ。
I realized that I was standing with everyone, looking down at my own body. I see. I'm finally dead. I looked at my own bloody body by my feet. It upset me that Takano was still enjoying the torture, but the body that remained was nothing but a shell.
大丈夫か、リカちゃん。
死んだ人に大丈夫かとは変な話なのです。
Everyone smiled wryly. It's my first time feeling so much love in death. Everyone is already dead. That's why I feel so happy to be dead, to join them. Suddenly the world got darker, and my body started to sink downward. I could feel myself disappearing. I still had the sensation of my friend's hands on mine.
行こうぜ、みんな。
そうだね。あなたもみんなという言葉に含まれてるんだよ。ほら、いつまでも泣いてないで行こう。
Oh, some more? Didn't expect more. My vision had gone dark, but somehow I could still see. Rana offered her hand to Hanyu, and Hanyu slowly took it.
羽生、あなたが私と出会う前にどんな悲しいことがあったか知らないけれど、みんなは絶対にあなたを受け入れてくれるわ。僕がいても楽しいでしょうか。僕はみんなに受け入れてもらえるのでしょうか。うん。だからおいで。
Rana touched Hanyu's hand. It felt like everyone else laid their hands on top too. If only they had hands to do so. If only they had hands to do so. Let's go, Hanyu. Let's accept the sorrow, so we can embrace joy as well. Believe in that bright future that's waiting for us. The miracle will happen. We will obtain it. Okay? Yes. Hanyu said with a definite nod. Arc over. What's outside the wall? Is it something worth fighting for? What's outside the well? Is it something worth getting hurt for? What's outside the well? I'm going to fight and get hurt in order to find that out. I'm sure what's waiting is a beautiful world, even if I get to the bottom of the well again. The key to that new world is my willingness to get out of here. Even if I can get out or not, I will eventually get to the new world. That was a pretty good finale. It's definitely the most emotionally charged one, I think. Honestly, it might actually just be like the best finale. Maybe I guess it's competition would be like watching Higurashi and Todoroshi's endings finales, in my opinion. But even on Higurashi, I don't know, it was great, huh? Wasn't that great? From tense to me having a breakdown to to some pretty heartwarming stuff at the end. Whew. You know, I think I muted my mic, but I was like, there's one point where I was like unable to process my emotions, and I sort of punched my desk. I know, keep it a secret. Don't worry, my desk is fine. But but after that, I kind of like stabilized. I guess it's kind of weird. I stabilized mid execution scene, but like, yeah. Definitely a different credit sequence. Pretty nice, since this is definitely supposed to be a hopeful ending compared to like Sumi Horiboshi's ending was kind of like a hype ending. Mayakashi's, I don't actually remember the credits. I think it was just, I don't want to say standard, but like they kind of, like the normal endings kind of invoke a sense of mystery and curiosity and stuff with Black, and like them memeing up putting up random scrambled words in the credits or whatever, death confirmations. This one's like hopeful and nice, and also there's probably more to it, right? Emergency Manual 1. If the existence of a terminal patient L5 is confirmed, the institute director must resolve the situation before L5 begins engaging in antisocial behavior. However, they must ensure that secret remains hidden. To that end, the director may also request assistance from the Secrecy Preservation Unit. As for the Secrecy Preservation Unit, they may request permission to fire from the Institute Director, if necessary. All efforts should be made to secure L5's subject is alive, but if that proves obstructive to maintaining secrecy, their life may be forfeit. At all times, maintaining secrecy and preventing exposure will be of the highest priority. However, preserving secrecy will take priority over preventing exposure. Emergency Manual Appendix 9 FAQ. Question: can Emergency Manual 34 be administered if an outbreak of L5 occurs, putting matters beyond control of the Secrecy Preservation Unit? Additionally, is the Institute Director responsible for determining what constitutes an all-out, out-of-control situation? I'm guessing if that means it's an outbreak. Wasn't that the thing? So it is, did we confirm this? I don't know, my mind's kind of scrambled, obviously, but like when Rika dies, she had like an explanation what happened. Does everyone just die, or did they like, because obviously it's alluding to the gas bomb as their outbreak or method of control or whatever. So it's actually a rigged bomb thing, which is funny. I guess it makes more sense. Maybe they did explain it would be a mass outbreak, or I thought it was a mass insta-death, but again, don't really remember. Interesting though. If an accident occurs and the hazardous material, the H-170 series, is exposed to the public, can Emergency Manual 34 be administered? Yes. If an accident has occurred and the nature of the institute is revealed to the public, the Secrecy Preservation Unit will take steps to resolve the situation. However, if this information is spread too widely, can Emergency Manual 34 still be administered? Additionally, is the Institute director responsible for making that decision? Yes. The decision to execute Emergency Manual 34 must be carefully deliberated over and sanctioned by an official. However, in the case of emergency, does the Institute director have the right to make the final decision? The execution of Emergency Manual 34 must be sanctioned by an official at all times. Okay, interesting. Oh, never mind. However, the Institute director may petition the urgency of its use to an official. Okay, never mind. So they definitely have to report it to the main headquarters. Emergency Manual 34. Reproduction or removal of this document is prohibited. This manual may only be read with the appropriate permissions. This manual will only apply upon approval by the highest authority. Nothing short of official authorization shall count as approval. Furthermore, those authorized to apply this manual must make their decision as soon as possible when it is required. If the situation threatens to spiral out of control and the official exceeds that this is the case, the Erie Institute must make the final decision to preserve the secret and prevent its detection by others. The following is an outline of how to execute that final resolution. Terminate all patients above L2. Destroy all evidence inside the Institute. Conceal the fact that this manual was administered. The contents of this manual must be executed by the Institute director within 48 hours of the incident. If the director is not available, the chief officer must execute it in his place. The Institute director may demand support from the chief officer in executing this manual. If this manual is expected to be executed, the chief officer may issue the preliminary orders. The final resolution must be executed in the following steps. Disguise the incident as a natural gas disaster and quarantine the area. The quarantine unit must disguise themselves as police officers and isolate the Hinamizawa region from the outside world. The official explanation must be that there is a gas disaster within the village. The equipment for the operation will be stored at a vacant lot where Yaguchi Quarry may used to be. The equipment must undergo a routine maintenance. In event of an external breach or internal escape, if they do not respond to notice of the gas disaster or orders to evacuate, use of firearms is authorized. The approval to use firearms is given by the Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit to the Chief of the Traffic Blockade Unit, shutting down communications. The Communication Sabotage Unit must ensure that all forms of communication, including radio, have been disabled in the Hinamizawa area. They must take care not to fall under suspicion, and communication must be disrupted for a minimum amount of time. The facility belonging to the telephone company is inside of the traffic blockade, so any civilians inside may be shot and killed. The Chief of Secrecy Preservation Unit may give permission to use lethal force to the Chief of Communication Sabotage Unit. Assembling the infected carriers, the Secrecy Preservation Unit must assemble the infected populace in Hinamizawa Regional Disaster Shelter. Refer to the enclosed documents for gathering procedures. Upon assembly, the unit must count the number of infected and confirm that everyone is present. Be sure not to allow the infected to expose the true nature of the gas disaster. Additionally, the infected must not be allowed to bring any large personal belongings with them. However, they may take their valuables, including bankbooks and cash. Infected who refuse to assemble may be shot, but the Chief of Secrecy Preservation Unit must carefully consider the decision to do so. Terminating the infected. Once they are assembled, the Secrecy Preservation Unit must terminate all of the infected. Before that point, care must be taken to ensure they are not suspicious of the story of the gas disaster. Be sure that they are treated as humanely as possible. If any problems occur, the unit has approval to fire their weapons. The Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit must also make that decision. Bodies with gunshot wounds should not be placed together with those that have been poisoned. Concealment of the Institute. The Institute Concealment Unit must collect all of the classified items referred to, the 193 items in the appendix, in the Institute in order to suppress the evidence. Refer to the appendix for more detailed instructions. The research staff at the Institute must assist with this operation. This unit must exercise extreme caution as they will be handling a number of toxic substances. Strict quarantine must be maintained of the concealment block. The airproof door must be welded shut, and the underground area must be flooded. The entrance to the area must be welded shut and concealed completely. Furthermore, the concealment block will be completely removed within 3 years. The Institute's concealment unit must eliminate all civilians who would try to approach the Institute. The use of firearms is not permitted except in emergencies. The chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit may give the order to fire. Searching the village. The Secrecy Preservation Unit must search the whole village for any survivors. Any person who was not present during the assembly must be found. Any survivors found after the termination of infected may be shot immediately. However, if the survivor is willing to surrender, do not shoot. Instead, take them into the custody of the Secrecy Preservation Unit. The unit must then terminate the captive using the same method as for the other infected. Post-mission transfer to General Forces. Transfer the job to the official disaster recovery team. Make sure not to arouse suspicion. So obviously, Keiichi was found during the official disaster recovery team, or he would have just been shot. Complete withdrawal. After the completion of all operations, the Secrecy Protection Unit will retreat from the Hinamizawa area. They must be careful not to be suspected by the disaster recovery team. Furthermore, the Institute will continue to secure the concealment block until the complete removal is finished. The Queen and her carriers. It is assumed that the pathogen has the same characteristics as creatures such as ants. There is a queen of the carriers of the disease, just like there is a queen ant, and this position has been passed down the line of the Furude family. Furude. This assumption is made based on the legends and ancient writings that have been passed down in the village. It is already confirmed that the carriers have a tendency to protect their queen. Additionally, the queen carrier can only survive within the boundary of the village. Probability of an outbreak. And as an ordinary patients will become ill when they travel far away from the queen, it is assumed that the further and longer they are away from her, the higher the chance of symptoms occurring becomes. Also, mental state plays a strong factor as well. And it's estimated that those who are especially emotionally unstable or show strong yearnings for their homes are more likely to exhibit symptoms. It is believed that the Takano relaxation method is the most effective means of suppressing symptoms, but if the patient still shows no improvement, only returning them to their home and the queen will be effective. Concerning terminal patients, as they suffer from an extreme persecution complex, are incapable of functioning within society. Cases of arson and murder have been confirmed. They may present severe problems for their units. Records show that terminal patients appear even in Hinamizawa, and they will not recover even if relocated near the queen. Therefore, the decision to dispose of the problem must be made as soon as possible. It's recommended that the infected be quarantined before they start behaving irregularly. We suggest tracking down those formerly from Hinamizawa and placing them under special medical observation. The collapse of the carrier community. For the aforementioned reasons, we predict that should the queen carrier die, infected villages will exhibit terminal symptoms on a village-wide scale. Where there's my answer. Well, we got it when they said they would gas the place. Terminal symptoms will begin showing within 24 hours at the earliest and 48 at the latest. For that reason, the final decision must be made within 48 hours. Based on the size of the village, neither ordinary officers nor the military police may be able to control the chaos they may bring. We believe the best response is to treat them as an armed anti-national uprising and immediately suppress them with the military. January 1945, to Colonel Kozumi of the Supreme Council for the Direction of War. From Hifumi Takano. Oh. Okay, so that's Takano. So Takanos have been running this business, or at least been involved in Tokyo for a while. June 23rd, 1983. Document E420 for the 58th Defense Commissioner and TETCOM 733 Commander. TETCOM 733 is hereby ordered to be on standby within 24 hours, armed for urban suppression. The company commander must also thoroughly study Emergency Manual 34. Select personnel carefully with the preservation of secrecy in mind. Additionally, test the effectiveness of the vaccine with the support of the National Research Center of Infectious Diseases. Employ those with positive immunity. June 23, 1983. Document E711 for the 50th Director of NIHS. Attention Equipment Testing Company Commander 733. The National Research Center of Infectious Diseases. Infectious Pathogen Department, Suit 13. Official seal omitted. About Hinamizawa Syndrome. This is information regarding the Hinamizawa Syndrome. The Hinamizawa Syndrome is an infectious disease caused by a virus. There are no initial symptoms. Instead, their onset begins when the patient's emotional state becomes unstable or if the queen carrier dies. The main symptoms of the illness are hallucinations and emotional instability, paired with an extreme persecution complex. Furthermore, patients are frequently unaware of their own mental abnormalities, making identification outside examination nearly impossible. The only way to do so is by observing symptoms indicative of terminal abnormal behavior. In many cases, patients engage in antisocial behavior, which is the largest issue created by the syndrome. This behavior is caused by hormonal factors, as this disease mainly affects the mind as opposed to the body. In the end, the patients will experience extreme irritation in their lymph nodes, and they will claw at their own throats or wrists. This is the only symptom that is recognized by the patient. Important points regarding the sterilization operation. This is an advisory notice for virus control. The pathogen is an airborne infectious virus. Therefore, no effective preventative methods exist and inculation is required. After the mission is completed, all staff members must take a medical exam, and those with positive test results must come forward. Be cautious when interacting with the carriers, villagers. Even after inculation, any contact with their bodily fluids will cause infection. Do not come into direct contact with them. If assumed infected, individuals must use testing syringe and test themselves for the disease. If you feel an extreme irritation in your lymph nodes, it's likely you have terminal symptoms. In that case, you must get tested immediately. If test results come out as positive, inject the treatment medication C120. If the irritation persists after 10 minutes, use a second injection. If there is still no change in symptoms, seek treatment at HQ. Do not use C120 if your test results are not positive. If used on a healthy body, symptoms of high fever, rashes, dilated pupils, and hallucinations will be observable within 10 minutes. If this occurs, one must seek treatment at HQ. Government officials explained the entire situation in a luxurious meeting room adorned with a marble table and crystal ashtrays. The chief cabinet secretary was in a panic. He'd never heard about any of this before. Feelings of panic were only natural. One girl's death was going to drive 2,000 villagers into a frenzy. Hearing that a disease like that exists was surprising enough. But on top of that, it was secretly researched for military use, and now there was a horrific situation caused by the director of the local research institute engaging in embezzlement.
そんな危険な病気初めて聞いたよ。本当に治療の手段はないのか？
はい。国立研究所の説明では、重度感染者の発症に対する治療法は確立したばかりで、全住民への対応は事実上不可能とのことです。最短で24時間以内、長くとも48時間以内に山荘の人口2000人が全て末期発症するとのことです。甚大な被害と影響が予想されます。
The danger of this Hinamizawa Syndrome was explained over and over again to the chief secretary. He didn't have anything more to say, but that didn't mean that he could blindly accept it either. He simply couldn't believe that the only way to resolve the situation was to kill all 2,000 infected villagers.
そりゃ大変なことになるのはわかるけど、そんなの許可できるわけないだろう。そもそもなんでこんな危険な病気を隠蔽して研究なんかしてたんだ。そもそもそういう事態を招いたのはその関係の連中の責任じゃないのかね。第一、こんな危険な研究は今や日本の国益に貢献しないどころか損ないかねんぞ。どうして昭和の58年までこんな馬鹿げた研究をしていたんだ。報告書によれば研究目的のために撲滅を意図的に遅らせていたそうじゃないか。しかも汚職をめぐるトラブルの果てにこんな事態だ。これはテロだよ、テロ。東京の老害だ。
True.
こんな研究を指示していた人間には全員責任を取ってもらうぞ。いつまでも大戦の亡霊に取りつかれている連中を追放したまえ。これは東京の海を出すいい機会じゃないのかね。
責任者の追及は必ず行いますが、それより前に対応を考えなければなりません。
A man standing by the window slowly turned around and opened his mouth.
総理、ご決断を。
滅菌作戦を承認しない場合のシミュレートを聞かせてください。
はい。今から36時間後には村人のほぼ10割が末期発症。末期的な被害妄想に取りつかれ、反社会的な行為を行います。想定されるのは自殺、殺人、放火、強盗、その他異常行動、治安の完全なる崩壊です。騒動はおそらくひなみざわ地区のみでなく周辺地区へも波及します。結果、世界規模での注目を浴びることになるでしょう。民間の独自調査の結果、奇病が原因であることが発覚するのは食い止められません。野党は奇病の対応の不手際を政争の具に、次期選挙を有利に発
Yeah. I see.
また東京内でも総理の対応に批判が高まるでしょう。
Gotta keep your priorities straight.
彼らの指示は総理の列島改造に欠かせません。そして何よりも軍事目的での研究が政府内部から暴かれる可能性があります。これだけは断固阻止しなくては我が国に致命的信用ダメージを与えかねません。
逆に滅菌作戦を承認した場合はどうなりますか？
はい、自然災害を装いますので、やはり対応の不手際の野党追及は避けられません。ただし奇病研究について発覚することはないでしょう。もし万が一奇病の軍事的研究が世界に発覚したら、我が国はアジア地域でのイニシアチブを完全に喪失します。
他国の援助を受ける政党は一大キャンペーンを張るな、売国どめ。そうなれば野党の政権奪取は必至だよ。日本は宣戦布告なくして占領されるぞ。
シミュレートの結果では第2党第3党が連立した場合、与野党の勢力は完全に反転します。国際世論は我が国を一斉に非難。 国連に対し NBC 兵器開発疑惑の査察を要求するでしょう。近隣国は政府主導でバッシングキャンペーンを展開。高支持率を背景に対日外交を強硬路線に転換します。我が国は政治的焦土と化すでしょう。
国際信用はペンペン草一本残らんということかね。くさ。つまり南沢地区と周辺自治体の数十万人だけの問題では済まんということだな。しかし全てを闇に葬るための犠牲が2000人とは多すぎる。
日本国内において生物兵器研究が行われていたことが露呈することだけは避けなければなりません。
私はどうやら大戦の亡霊の尻を拭く羽目になりそうですね。
滅菌作戦は計画通りに隠密で実行できるのかね。滅菌作戦が発覚すれば奇病研究以上の大スキャンダルになるぞ。
はい、ご安心ください。それにつきましては自衛隊内の機密保持に特化した専門部隊が当たります。このような事態を想定し研究と訓練を重ねた部隊です。万一の失敗はありえません。
都市沈黙戦という言葉は初めて聞きましたが、これはガスによる虐殺のことですね。自衛隊にガス戦を習熟した部隊があったとは驚きました。
ガス防護を知るにはガス戦を知らなければなりません。ガス虐殺に備えるにはガス虐殺を知らねばなりません。装備実験隊は日本国が受ける可能性のある全ての攻撃に対し日夜研究を重ねています。
He let out a small sigh. He couldn't see the line between ethical and unethical. Can any research be justified by the excuse of preparing against hostilities? But that's also what preparation was all about. Some evils must be accepted as necessary. The Erie Institute was one such evil.
明かせぬ研究を葬るために明かせぬ方法を取るか。罪悪感の伴う任務だが、隊員から事実が漏れ出すことはないのかね。
ありえません。隊員は第一空挺から精鋭を選抜し、さらに高い忠誠心を持つ者のみで構成しております。
I mean, maybe this unit is, so might not be false.
実戦はこれが初めてになりますが、連度は極めて高く、内部の機密保持も問題ありません。
まさに暗殺の専門部隊ですね。
総理、どうか緊急マニュアル第34号の執行にご決裁をお願いいたします。
防衛庁長官、この作戦は必ず成功しますか。事件が大騒ぎになる前に食い止められますか。いえ、犠牲者を最小限に抑えられますか。
はい、総理、すでに予備命令を発し作戦準備に入っております。ご決裁がいただければ直ちに出動して作戦に入ります。
私には人口2000人を虐殺する命令など下せません。ですが内閣総理大臣として犠牲者を最小に抑える義務もあります。
胸中をお察しします。
長官、どうか犠牲者が一番少なくて済む方法を選択してください。2000人がどうしても治療できないなら、不必要な犠牲者が出ないよう迅速な対応をお願いいたします。
はい、ご決裁を感謝いたします。必ずや朗報をお持ちいたします。
2000人の犠牲が朗報と呼べるならですがね。奥野君、東京の皆さんに近日中にお会いできる席を設けてください。今回の件について釈明を直接聞かせていただきたいと思います。
わかりました。
ところで、その問題の研究所長の入江氏は逮捕しましたか。
いえ、服毒自殺とのことです。研究の終了が自身の人生を否定されたものと悲観しての発作的犯行と思われていますが、
彼を凶器に駆り立てた理由は永遠に闇の中ということですか。
Poor Irie. Unlucky. The Execution of Emergency Manual 34 is approved June 23rd, 1983. Prime Minister. Director Yaya. That's so cute.
皆さん、輸送の都合で荷物を持つことはできません。手荷物は禁じます。繰り返します。手荷物は
Oh
禁じま
no.
す。
They're not trying to show us the execution of everyone.
現金通帳印鑑の類だけを携帯してください。混乱防止のため車両避難は禁じています。
It was the middle of the night, and yet countless villagers were out and about. Some of them were locking their doors, and some of them were watering their plants, and some of them were piling up food in their dogs' dinner bowls. Small children were crying in fear. Members of the town council were yelling angrily while counting up the villagers. Reportedly, the village had been cut off from the rest of the world after volcanic gas gushed out of the mountains. The number of policemen and military units in the village, added to the strong smell of sulfur in the air, dispelled any doubts the villagers might have had. The more religious among the elderly were convinced that this was the curse of Rika Furude, who had passed away the day before. They were certain that Oyashiro-sama was enraged and that the door to hell had been opened. Soldiers wearing gas masks guided the villagers to the evacuation center.
なんで兵隊さんは災害なのに鉄砲持ってきとるんしゃ。
皆さんが避難した後の家屋を守るためです。また災害に便乗して商店を襲撃するボートに対してです。
Hinamizawaにそんな輩はおらんのじゃ。
第一小隊避難誘導順調。了解。一個分隊を応援に向かわせます。
兵隊さん、じいさまの位牌を持ってんじゃならんがね。
位牌は構いません。急いでください。町会の方は天候を怠らないように。歩行困難な方は申し出てください。隊員が補助します。
おお、リカちゃまが殺されたからお社様がお怒りになったのじゃ。
お社様、お社様、お社様、どうか怒りをおしすべください。防災訓練通りに避難しちゃり。班長は天候終わったら町会役員に連絡せんかいで。
鬼ヶ淵から正気が溢れ出したね。お社様はお怒りだね。こんなに大勢いるんじゃん。助かる方法なんかなかとよ。村で死なせてくれな。
大丈夫です。輸送ヘリとボーガス仕様のバスが回されます。必ず助かりますから。
みんなエリン署へ集まれ。
Oh,
4丁目は違うだろう。郵便局裏の公民館だぞ。
that's why there's so many bodies there. I guess it made sense.
皆さん、防災訓練と同じです。落ち着いて災害時避難場所に集合してください。団体行動をお願いします。一人の乱れが全体の足を引きます。どうか団体行動を。家には必ず戻れます。
And this is making me sad again. This is horrible. It's as horrible. I mean, technically worse, but Jesus. The villagers couldn't see the expressions under the soldiers' gas masks. They wondered what kind of expressions they were hiding under there. The soldiers were, of course, lying to the villagers, knowing that they would never return to their homes again. One such trooper cried under his masks, but the villagers never saw his tears.
引き返してください。車両での避難は禁止されています。この先はガス流で寸断されており危険です。あんたにも硫黄の匂いがわかるでしょう。
Some people tried to leave in their cars so as to take large items with them. However, the quarantine unit had sealed off all roads leading outside. The gas masks of the troops and the smell of sulfur persuaded them to return and obey their instructions. Some of them tried to contact Okinomiya, but their phones would not connect. The lines were busy no matter how much they tried. They simply assumed the phone lines were overwhelmed because of the disaster. Some of the villagers had access to radios. They tried to figure out what the situation was like outside, but all they could hear over the radio was loud static. It was the same with television. They couldn't contact anyone outside of the village, so they really were totally isolated. And so they had nothing to rely on but the instructions of the police and the military. They were all like moths heading towards a light, never doubting that they would be safe there. One old war veteran listened to the noise from the radio and muttered, As it turned out, he was absolutely correct. However, he turned off the radio when his son urged him to evacuate. The villagers had all gathered at their evacuation points. Some of them were at the schools, and some of them at the community center. They were to stay in the building until the evacuation vehicles arrived. The soldiers told them to stay inside so they can keep track of the number of evacuees.
万一のガス流に備えて窓はすべて閉めてください。念のため窓ガラスはテープで目張りします。申し訳ございませんがご協力をお願いいたします。よし来た。若いのは率先して手伝え。
People started to seal up the windows and the vents with duct tape that was handed to them. They completely sealed every opening, even as they heard the disquieting conversations of the soldiers. It was long past 3 a.m., but everyone was wide awake with fear. They were having an extremely long night. Coincidentally, the end of their night had almost arrived. They all started to saying that the gas disaster was caused by the curse of Oyashiro-sama, and Rika's death and the mysterious disappearance of her friends, and the 2 detectives were also a result of the curse. People started talking about being demoned away. They had no idea that Keiichi and his friend's short battle sealed their fate for that night. The more religious villagers had become convinced that the children and the detectives went missing, because they volunteered to become sacrifices to calm Oyashiro-sama's anger after Rika's death. They didn't know the truth. They couldn't know. Not one realized that Keiichi and his friends' efforts had all been in vain. Indeed, in Hinamizawa, everything that happens is the will of Oyashiro-sama. But why did it have to be that way? Before the series of mysterious deaths occurred, no one really used the term the curse of Oyashiro-sama that frequently. In other words, who set them up? People in this village were set up to believe that the curse of Oyashiro-sama happens every year. They really are just too superstitious.
サンサ、全小隊が点呼を終了しました。遅れていた自主避難者もさっき最後の家族が合流したようです。全員揃いました。
そう。いよいよね。お社様のたたりが現実となる。お社様の生まれ変わりである古出理香を綿流しにするという冒涜によって、お社様の怒りが村に下される。
I talk, you know.
それで、この5年間の連続したたたりは本当の神罰に昇格される。もう誰にも事件なんて呼ばせない。これは荒ぶる神の怒りなのだから。始めなさい。
中隊長より全隊員へ彼らのために1分間の黙祷を捧げよう。サンサ、1分だけご許可を。
お好きになさい。
Tatano gave him a disparaging laugh. The company commander crossed his heart and began to speak. The company commander isn't Christian. In fact, he doesn't follow any religion. However, he prayed because he felt the need to ask someone for forgiveness. He wasn't even sure if he was saying it correctly, but he still prayed to God. He asked forgiveness for committing his sin and continued to pray. Tatano was speaking in a soft voice. She was talking to herself.
神がいつ降臨されるのかは誰も知らない。それは例えるなら、泥棒がいつ訪れるのかわからないように。だから予期せずしてその時を迎えて、不信心であったことに歯ぎしりすることがないよう。エセ預言者たちは、神の降臨を声高に叫ぶであろうが、それに惑わされてはなりませんか。
One man heard her murmurs.
マタイの福音書ですね。
そうなの？祖父の好きだった言葉よ。報われる日がいつ訪れるかわからないから、常に勤勉であれって言葉だと思っていたけど。
今日が報われる日なのですか？
そうよ。あなたにはわからないでしょうけどね。
失礼ながら、主の降臨は慈悲深いものであるべきだと信じています。このような日にそれを例えられることは冒涜かと思います。
He was trying to tell her that using that verse of the Bible was inappropriate for the occasion. However, Tatano simply laughed as though she heard something very funny.
ごめんなさいね。あなたは神に試されなさい。私は今日を境に試す側となるのよ。
以上で黙祷を終了する。
And with the end of the silence,
全総隊、滅菌を開始せよ。
the order was given in as hollow and reluctant a manner as an order can possibly be.
今こそ私の理想はすべて完成した。文字通りの理想郷がここにはある。ここでは私は神で、私のたたりは永遠に刻まれ、語り継がれるのだ。
People were packed into classrooms. They were afraid. The troopers closed the doors of the classroom. The people inside had no idea why they were doing that. However, they didn't suspect anything at all. One old man walked up to the door to open it. Because it closed, it was far too hot in the room, but he collapsed all of a sudden. His wife tried to walk over to help him, but she also collapsed all of a sudden. Then, other people also started collapsing inside of the room. It really was a very odd sight. What would make for a good example? It would be pretty amusing if they were dominoes. However, they're human beings. People sitting by the windows watched the strange event happen before their eyes. They opened those eyes wider to try to understand what was going on.
ダム戦争をきっかけに長き眠りからよみがえった荒ぶる神が不信心なる者を綿流しの聖夜の旅にたたりを下してゆく。その一年一年の積み重ねが神の復活、お社様の意向の復活、たたりを恐れるという原始的恐怖への回帰。
The door creaked open slightly, and someone on the other side threw 3 spray canisters into the room. More people started to collapse, even those at the window. This wasn't something that was happening only in one room. It was happening in all the other rooms too. It was happening in all the evacuation centers. People's dreams, their hopes and their futures, were taken away so quickly and easily.
そして誰もがお社様のたたりを疑わなくなり、完全に復活した我は古きムクロの腹を内より破りて、今こそこの世によみがえる。 お社様の怒りに触れるとき、地獄の釜が開きて正気があふれ出し、人々は逃げることもかなわず、ことごとく生き絶えるなり、その最後の審判が、たたりが、こうして実現した。
There was a commotion in the reception room by the principal's office. Someone had figured out what was going on, broke the seal off the window, and escaped outside. Other people tried to remove the seal on their windows too, but they collapsed in a matter of seconds.
あなたは死んだら何が残る？身は腐り、焼かれ、骨は砕かれ砂になる。大地の肥やしになる以上の何が残せるの？
応接室で脱走発生。4名が窓から脱出。発砲許可。撃て撃て撃て撃て撃て撃て。
The soldiers shot the people who tried to escape in the back. The sound of the gunshots echoed in the silence. It was a noise filled with cruelty. They helplessly fell down to the ground. Their deaths were so pitiful compared to the silent deaths of those before them. The residential police officer was one of the escapees. He tried to shoot back at them with his own gun. His shots could be heard throughout the building. The soldiers ducked into the shadows upon hearing the noise. The officer seized his chance and ran towards the gate, but that was just a waste of time. Not only is the range of the automatic weapons they were using longer than the length of the schoolyard, but as trained professionals, it would be nothing for them to shoot him from that distance. The villagers had no choice. Either they'd die from the gas without realizing what was happening, or they'd find out about the mission and be killed.
どうした？応答しろ！脱走者全員の逃亡阻止。銃声は駐在警官が反撃したものです。射殺隊を回収しろ。一般犠牲者と一緒にしないよう注意せよ。
The soldiers walked over the 4 fallen bodies. They needed to make sure they were all dead, not just injured.
私は残した。名を残した。偉業を残した。たたりを残した。私の存在はこの長く封鎖されるこの土地で神格化されるだろう。そして近隣の町にて今日のたたりを逃れた者たちはたたりを恐れ、その恐怖を
Okay, the words are
人々に語り継ぐだろう。
They're pulsating.
人間の群れの記憶
Thought I was tripping.
私を超越した存在へ昇華させるのだ。
第一小隊より本部、営林署の滅菌を終了。脱走者4名は射殺。
第二小隊より本部、作戦終了。
How did Keiichi survive? I don't think we're getting an answer since he died, but it's also very confusing. This hasn't really explained that.
脱走者なし。
第三小隊より本部、脱走者10名以上、現在相当中。制圧は時間の問題。
第4小隊より本部、滅菌終了。脱走者なし。第3小隊より本部、脱走者13名全員の射殺を確認。全員の滅菌を終了。了解。機密保持部隊の全小隊は確認を厳重に行われたし。
Takano was laughing to herself inside of the van. She didn't physically see all those people dying silently. No? But she saw it anyway. Doing some conducting. Look at that skull thing on her beret. Also, that kind of looks like it kind of looks like Berncasto's thing. Does she have one? I don't know, I might be tripping. But she saw it anyway. She saw countless people dying without even noticing it. She saw it all in her mind. Tatuna waved her arms in the air. No one was watching her, but no one would understand what she was doing even if they were. She was waving her baton. Tatuna was pretending that she was the conductor of the silent funeral march.
さあさあ、非常事態策の完全終了を確認。通信妨害を終了しますが、よろしいですか？
ええ、いいわよ。
施設処理部隊より定時連絡。機密搬出と溶接封鎖を完了。現在注水中。
交通封鎖部隊より定時連絡。封鎖線は異常なし。
通信工作部隊より定時連絡。通信妨害を終了。電話施設の現状復帰を開始。
Tatuna was paying no attention to those reports. She continued to sing the melody of an orchestra. When an operator spoke to her,
ご機嫌ですね。
ええ、最高に気分がいい夜よ。あなたには聞こえないでしょうね。この新しい神を称える賛歌が。
賛歌でありますか？
Tatuna laughed loudly, spreading her arms wide.
そうよ。称える歌。さ、神のいなかったこの地に新しい神が誕生した瞬間を称える賛歌よ。このひなみ沢には神などいなかった。お社様という名が残るだけ。神がかつて存在した痕跡が残るだけのただの古ぼけた土地だった。その地に私は再び神を取り戻させたの。どういうことかわかる？わからないでしょうね。今の世界にたたる神が何人いる？人が試すことに耐えられる神が何人いる？一人もいやしない。それを私がたたった。
Tatuna laughed as if she was the only one who could comprehend what she was saying. None of the operators inside the car could comprehend her laughter. Tatuna was satisfied to know that.
たたりなきは神にあらず。たたるゆえに恐れられ、恐れられるゆえに崇められる。それこそが神の真実。神が信仰を生み出すのではなく、信仰が神を生み出すのなら、神にたたりなど必要ない。でも太古の神々はたたったのよ。では、神のたたりとは何なのか。それこそが真の神の証だった。たたらない神など、人間に見下された神でしかないのよ。神の宿らぬ抜け殻の土地に、神が確かに存在した痕跡を見た私は思ったわ。これは天の啓示だと。ダム戦争が終わるまで、明治から100年にもわたり、Hinamizawaは神を失ってきた。それを私が蘇らせろという神の啓示だと私は思ったわ。そして天は私にありとあらゆる力を貸してくれた。天が与えたわずかの偶然が積もり、芽生えたたたりの芽を私が育てた。育まれたたたりは今や結実し、実をたわわに実らせてくれたわ。そうよ、わかる？つまりは今宵は収穫祭。お社様の伝説に刻まれた最後の神のたたりの日。この日が訪れたからこそ、お社様の存在は今こそ絶対となる。あなたたちは今は分からなくてもやがて知る。私が成した偉業がどれほどのものか、どれだけ長く語り継がれるか、そして私がどれほどの存在となったのか。神はたたる。そのたたりを私は起こす。今こそ我はお社様のたたりなり。我をあがめよ、たたえよ、そして恐れよ。我が紡ぐはたたりにあらず、死にあらず。我が紡ぐは歴史なり。歴史はたたりを語り、 我が存在を永劫に語り伝えるであろう。我こそはたたりなり、肉でできた身を超越せし者なり、今こそ我は永遠を得たり。我が身を呪えよ人間たち。身が朽ちれば後には何も残せぬ無力さを呪い、そして我が偉大さを知るがいい。我こそはお社様なり、今こそ神の領域に至った者なり。我は肉体が滅びようとも永遠にこの地で語り継がれるのだ。我はお社様。我こそはお社様のたたり。我をあがめよ、たたえよ、そして恐れよ。我が紡ぐはたたりにあらず、死にあらず。我が紡ぐは歴史なり。歴史はたたりを語り、我が存在を永劫に語り伝えるであろう。我こそはたたりなり。肉でできた身を超越せし者なり。この身がたとえ朽ち果てようとも、我が紡ぎし歴史は永遠に残り続けるであろう。今こそ我は永遠を得たり。我が身を呪えよ人間たち。身が朽ちれば後には何も残せぬ無力さを呪い、悔やみ、恐れるがいい。そして我が偉大さを知るがいい。我こそはお社様なり。今こそ神の領域に至ったものなり。我は肉体が滅びようとも永遠にこの地で語り継がれて永遠の生を受けるのだ。
Ooh. I know I haven't talked in a while. I was just kind of going with it. I mean, I don't actually disagree with what Takano was saying, kind of, from her point of view. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying she did kind of ascend to a god from that. And we got a message, right? Okay. Yeah. It's been a long night. The Great Hinamizawa Massacre. I might split this video up into two. I'm not fully sure, but it is an extremely long video, so yeah, that was great. I loved it. I thought I was going to get more depressed during the execution, but once they switched up the mood of it with the music and the religious stuff, I was like, okay, I'm fine. Wow, I mean, it's so hard to comment on stuff since we just intook so much content and so many different kinds of scenes that it's hard to articulate what I'm going to want to talk about. I might just leave this as a whole video, whatever. It's a makeup for the shorter ones, I guess. Next time, though, on Saturday, since we only have a tip and well, the tip could actually be like super long. Don't underestimate the final tip, because last time it was like an hour. We'll talk more about it, and I'll try to talk more about it later. Also, once we do the review, I can actually talk more about the story stuff in detail, which I will, because it has been a fun fun time. I know fun's kind of an abstract word, but like I pretty much enjoyed everything in this. I mean, even when I was crying, it was a happy cry. Okay, I'm happy that I cried. I'm happy that I was tense in the beginning with the Wishi stuff. I'm happy that I was a little frustrated, but not in like an I'm annoyed, frustrated way, like in Totoroshi in that one scene where, you know, if you remember, I was pretty frustrated, but like frustrated in a good way where I'm not actually mad at the story. I'm just frustrated in general, and yeah, fun stuff. Also, I guess Owishi's full cleared. I'm sorry, Owishi. I should have dropped it. I should have dropped you so much earlier, but it's okay. But yeah, thanks for watching as always. I will see you guys tomorrow with the finale. I mean, this is the finale, but it's clearing up the extra stuff, and we'll see. You know, Tatna, you might have become a god in a bunch of the stuff. But next time, motivation, it's there. I believe in Hanyu. We can do this. But yeah, that will have to be next time. So thanks for watching. Have a great night. Bye.